Welcome back to Stockholm, and today we have the pleasure of visiting restaurant Celeste, that means heavenly in French. They opened in 2023 and in this year's guide they received their first Michelin star. This is the sister restaurant of another star restaurant that is called Etoile, and it's very hyped and I cannot wait to see if they can live up to the expectations that I have on it. It's located on the southern island of Stockholm on a rooftop of an 8-story building. You are directed by the staff to a secret entrance that brings you to an elevator that takes you up to the 8th floor. It's a truly amazing view up here, and when you walk into the restaurant you will find an open kitchen where the chefs are preparing your food, and in the dining room itself it's of course a lot of windows so you can enjoy the view, but it's also a lot of glass and decorations on the walls here, and the table setting is without tablecloths and is very clean and elegant with some nice flowers on here. When it comes to the menu, you have no choice here. There's only one set menu of 5 courses, and that is priced at 1800 SEK. First we were presented with some snacks, and the first one was a take on a classic Swedish smörgåstårta, which was of a sweet dark bread, some pickled cucumber, cream cheese and a green curry. Next up was a cheesecake made out of oatmeal together with a local cheese and some bleak roe, and after that we had a meringue with some ponzu and a tartare and some rhubarb gel. You can see there has been a real effort going into these snacks, and they're really standing out in the different presentations and complexity of the build. What stood out for me here was the most simple one with the bleak roe and the cheese. It was clean in flavors and nice saltiness came through from the roe there. I tested one of the cocktails, and this was an alcohol-free blueberry variation of a sour, and it was a little bit too sour for my taste. It was really high on the acidity note, which I normally would appreciate, but the balance was just off in this cocktail. Our first official dish of the 5-course menu was a sashimi made out of yellowtail together with some leche de tigre, cucumber and horseradish. It was a beautiful plate to look at here, and a lot of vibrant colors that was going on, and leche de tigre is something that I like a lot, so I really hope that the acidity level will be high and balanced here. Unfortunately it was not, and I was missing that brightness and complexity that you get from a high note of acidity in a ceviche type of a dish like this one is. But besides that, everything worked well here. It was a nice color to look at, and all the textures that was going on was good, the fish was tender, and also the heat that came from the horseradish was really nice. Next up we had a green asparagus dish together with some egg, chicken skin and a potato foam. I do like dishes that have a little bit of a mystery to them, and like this one is, you're not seeing too much of the core ingredients, but you are discovering them while you're digging in your spoon deep down in the bowl. And of course here you'll find the small pieces of the green asparagus, and you have the potatoes and the chicken skin and the egg, and everything is really creamy here, and I'm wondering if it is a little bit too creamy for my taste, but it is really good and comfortable to eat. That said though, because of all the creaminess in this dish, I was expecting maybe a little bit more pops of acidity to break it through. It was maybe a little bit too fat and one-dimensional for me when I ate it, and I was just missing a little bit of more balance in this dish. Our next dish on the menu was a lobster dish together with some tomatoes, Swiss chard and a sauce made out of saffron and chorizo. The lobster was grilled on a small Japanese barbecue and was brushed with some shellfish butter before it went on there. And then the sauce was made out of that butter as well and flavored with some saffron and chorizo. So digging into the flavors here, I think that everything worked well, and the sauce was really complex and rich with flavor and brought together all of the other ingredients on the plate. The tomatoes brought some sweetness and acidity to the dish, and the Swiss chard brought some silkiness and green notes. What I also liked was that small pastry brick up on the lobster that also gave some other textures in here. It was a good solid dish here, and the only problem that I had with it was that I felt that the lobster itself was a little bit undercooked, and with that was a little bit more chewy than I would expect it to be. As our last savory course on the menu, we were offered a spring lamb together with some white asparagus, and then we also had some new onions and a roasted lamb stew. I love this type of dishes, and it looks like it's gonna be a strong finish here on the savory end of the courses. And look at that lamb, it has a perfect cook on it, and you will find underneath the asparagus there a green cream that is made out of the lovage and some other herbs. And then you have the nice piece of the new onion that is also laying there. Digging into the flavor profiles here and starting with the lamb, it has a really nice and deep flavor and not an awkward type of a flavor that lamb sometimes can have, but this one is really clean to the taste. And then we have the white asparagus that is really nicely cooked, and the green cream underneath there with the herbs is bringing a lot of complexity to the plate and other flavor notes. And then you have the onion that is laying there, and it brings also some sweetness and other textures, and the sauce is just binding everything together on this plate. And then it comes a little bit of a surprise to the table. We are offered some freshly baked bread, and this is for the reason to mop up all the sauces that are left here on the plate. And the bread is of really nice quality, it's warm, and you can really feel that it's freshly baked. This was the best of all the dishes that were presented this evening, a real winner and a strong dish. Moving into the sweet part of our meal, and this is the last dish of our 5-course menu, and consisting of strawberries, we have cherries, there is white chocolate and vanilla, and it's built up like a millefeuille. The strawberries are marinated in some rhubarb and lilac, and it's very interesting combination there that I haven't had before. And then in the millefeuille you will see some small dots of the white chocolate and the cherries there, and in the center is vanilla ice cream. The flavors here are really fresh and intense, and the floral notes that are coming out from the strawberries there with the lilac are really complex and brings a flavor profile that is really fresh and unique for this dish. And then of course you have the puff pastry there bringing a lot of texture, and you have the cherries and white chocolate in the layers between there, and the ice cream is functioning almost like a smoothing out all of the other more strong and fruity flavors and bringing a light balance to the dish and also some nice coolness. So what did I think then about my visit here to Celeste in Stockholm? Well, I think many of the dishes that we have been served tonight has held a good quality on them, but there has also been some of the dishes that hasn't been as good. And if I were to compare this restaurant to many of the other restaurants that I've been visiting in the past on the channel, I have to say that they're quite on par with that, and the ones I'm comparing to does not have a 1 Michelin star, and this restaurant does. So with that said, and I really want to give this restaurant a high score on the food, but the quality just hasn't been there enough for me, and it has been a little bit too much style over substance, so I'm gonna place the food scoring here at 86 points. When it comes to the service of this restaurant, I think that it has been friendly and attentive, and the survey that I had really explained the dishes in a thorough and nice way. But one thing that I don't appreciate when eating as a solo diner is that sometimes you're gathered up with other bigger tables, and that means that the waiting time between the dishes can be quite long. Because as you would probably understand, when you're eating as a solo diner, you don't really have a dining companion to sit and discuss other things with, but the focus is on the food and you're quite fast actually eating that, and that requires another tempo for the dining room staff to actually keep up with. I do understand the reason that they want to gather up you with other tables, because of course it's much easier for the kitchen staff to produce more plates at one go and for the dining room staff to carry that out to the plates. But unfortunately for me it was too frustrating, and it came to the point that I actually had to mention that to the dining room staff and politely ask them to speed up my table a little bit. So with that said, I'm gonna place the service rating here at 85 points. And closing here as always with the value scoring, and you can see here that we paid 1800 SEK here for the 5-course menu, and there was also a blueberry cocktail at 95 SEK. Water was included, and that is always appreciated. So when it comes to the value here and comparing to last week's episode at Marv and Ben, where I thought the quality of the food was higher and the price was actually lower, I'm gonna put the value rating here at 84 points. And that brings end to this episode of a food critic's monologue in Stockholm at restaurant Celeste. If you like this content, please hit like and subscribe, and until next time, bye bye.